Welcome to GBALL VISION, everyone. Today we are talking about one of the most coveted Spyderco knives of all time. This is the Spyderco Smock, coming in CPM M4 with the beautiful satin finish. You do have Raylight Tetris titanium scales. That's what I call them, at least. They're Raylight's version of titanium scales for the smock. And then we have a stonewash tumbled MXG deep carry clip here. Looks absolutely fantastic with these handles, and these handles have made a huge difference with the knife for me. This originally comes with JG10 handles, and flipping them over to these handles made a massive difference for the knife and for using the knife. Let's go ahead and we'll get some specs on this guy. M4 satin finish, a beautiful sheep's foot Warncliffe-esque style blade. And then now we have the titanium handles and the MXG clip. Typically it comes with the standard lower mounted Spyderco clip. So it's a great aftermarket buy to get, a different clip than the OEM clip that Spyderco offers. Although their clip works very well, and in some cases I leave it alone. And then in other cases, I prefer to have that deep carry. So your cutting edge is going to be coming down around 2 13/16, maybe 2 7/8, right about in there. And then your total blade is going to be roughly about 3/8, 3 3/8. And then your total length is coming down around 7 7/8. So it's not a big knife, but it's not a small knife neither. While I'm thinking about it, let's just get a weight check. Now, this will not be, optimal because this is the titanium handle addition to the knife. So if you were to pick the S30V1 up or find the M4 with the G10, it will be lighter than this. But in this case, 4.7 for some nice slabs of titanium, and then you have steel liners in there. That's really not that heavy at all. So that is a pretty good weight in my opinion. And while I'm thinking about it here, why don't we go ahead and check our blade stock here. About 110 thousandths. And then we'll just check it right here behind the edge. Wow. Between 11 and 12 thousandths. I bet that could be coming down. I bet that could be around 10 thousandths maybe behind the edge, depending on where you are there. So while I'm thinking about it, let's go ahead and we'll do some size comparisons. And probably my favorite Spyderco of all time, the Spyderco Shaman right there. And that's a fair comparison. The Shaman is a little bit bigger than the Smock. There is the ever popular Kaiser Drop Bear. And you can see there that is quite a bit smaller than the Smock. How about the very popular Miguron Moyero? Quite a bit smaller than that as well. How about the Vero Impulse Mini? That is a great size comparison right there. That is almost toe to tip the same. How about the Miguron Centurion? That's a very fair comparison as well. And let's do one more just for funsies. Here is the new Civivi Ball Tear or Ball Hair. however you would like to say that. And that knife is quite a bit bigger than the Spyderco smock. So you can see it's a good size. It's not too small, not too big. The handle is pretty neutral for the most part. It's not necessarily forcing you to put your pointer finger here. You can choke up in that flat and put your middle finger there. So you do have, you know, a couple different options. You can come all the way back here, and it still maintains being somewhat comfortable if you needed the reach. And that's one thing I like about this. You know, if you were in a situation where you needed some reach, you know, you couldn't quite get to what you're cutting at and you need to back way off, you can maintain a pretty good grip on this thing. And with this blade shape, it is going to do, you know, them reaching to and cutting type tasks very well. This is going to have needle-like precision. Great on the index grip. For the index grip, it is just ultra comfortable, and I love the Smock's blade shape for cuts like this. This is going to be pretty much comfortable in any grip that you would potentially grip the knife with. It's fantastic, and there's a reason why the Smock is very popular. It's got a nice profile, a nice aesthetic. It's not too bulky, and it's not too overly long. It is more of a slender long knife, but it's really not that big of a knife. It's got plenty of useful edge there. You have a insane sharpening choil here. You're going to get a ton of sharpening life, and you can even use that sharpening choil area if you needed to get up and do, you know, some lighter duty fine type tasks. You know, definitely don't stick your full finger in there or that corner will get you. But it would be good for just the tip. That's what she said. So, you know, that'll be fairly useful in a lighter duty situation. So we covered the materials and comparisons and all of that. Why don't we get a reading on our handle here? Fairly thin, coming in at 0.43, 0.44, roughly in that ballpark. So that's pretty thin, pretty slender compared to the Shaman here. Actually, hell, the Shaman, is that a little skinnier? No, it's not. It just feels that way. Okay. The Shaman is a little bit thicker. I would say it might be close to the Drop Bear here. So it's even thinner than the Drop Bear. The Drop Bear is 0.49. So potentially a pretty thin, slender knife. As far as the opening methods, you have Spyderco's trademarked hole there. You can thumb flick this guy out. You can reverse flick this guy out. And then you have the rear flipper tab. I wish they would have put some jimping on that. Does it need it? Does it have to have it? No. But it's one of them instances where it would just be extra nice to have that jimping. But the action is fantastic. This is using a compression style lock, but with the button here. So you can see it's basically the same exact lock as you see here with the Shaman. There is basically a good look at what this lock looks like, but it's just on the opposite side here. And then when you push that button, you disengage it, push that liner over. It's basically a reverse liner lock with a button for the disengagement. So instead of pushing it over manually, pushing the liner over manually, like here on the Shaman, you are actually using the button to push that liner over. And when you open this guy up, you can see the liner will pop into engagement there. A very cool, mechanism coming from Spyderco. Very ingenious. Going from your standard liner lock to making and splitting it instead of in the front. They split it in the rear, and the liner is back here in this, in the case of the Spyderco. So it's a very unique mechanism that they came up with. It's very simple, but very unique. It's not something that you see all the time, and I believe they have ran out, so other companies will be able to start using that compression style lock there on other knives than just Spyderco, which I'd love to see this style of lock on some other knives. The Vosteed RS Chaos is using this same exact lock, and I would say that Vosteed did it to some of the highest standards. It's right up there with this, if not even better in some cases. But very well done from Spyderco. Spyderco does a fantastic job on their heat treats for all of their steels. And this M4 is going to be some tough stuff. It's going to hold an edge for a very, very long time. Where M4 kind of lacks is its corrosion resistance, especially when it's a satin blade like this. Now, I have not really had any issues, knock on wood, and I've had this for probably, a year, maybe 2 years now. I forget when these originally were launched, a year to 2 years ago. And I have not had any issues. You have a nice satin here and then a hand satin here. Looks very, very good. I love Spyderco's coated blades, but I do like their satin blades as well. They do a very good job. The action is fantastic on this knife for that, compression lock. I've had no qualms about keeping. There's 2 detent balls in there, and I took it out to try it, and I prefer it this way. I might be in the minority in keeping the double detent, but I prefer it this way. It's very smooth and very functional just the way it is. But a lot of people like taking that other detent ball out. It kind of helps with the opening and closing of the knife, but not, I don't know. I like the stronger feeling, it takes a little bit more to open it and close it. So I kind of prefer it that way, but to each their own. Good luck taking it apart to do that, because this knife was absolute hell to change the scales over. It took me about 50 minutes. And there's a long, excruciating video on it early on in the channel. So if you get bored one night and you want to rip your hair out, go watch that video. It's one of the very first videos I ever did. But it's a fantastic knife. It's one of my favorite Spyderco knives ever. It's not my favorite Spyderco of all time, but it's definitely up there in the top 4 or 5. If I gave it some thought, I could narrow it down, but definitely in the top 5 or 6. Definitely a great EDC knife, and coming with the M4, it's going to be a great user that will last, you know, a lifetime. As long as it's taken care of, this knife will last you the rest of your life, if even in the S30V configuration. And that's what the Shaman is here. That is enough blade, properly heat treated by Spyderco. That is plenty enough blade to last forever. So, you know, you might want the M4, but you can't get it. Spyderco's S30V is pretty much second to nobody's. So, you know, getting Spyderco's S30V, you can do a lot worse. Plenty worse. So, you know, definitely worth taking a look at. And I believe the S30V versions are still in stock. So if you like this profile and you like this knife, they should have some in stock somewhere. If I can find one, I will link it down in the description. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know what you think of this guy. I'd love to hear your opinion on the Spyderco smock. And if you don't have one, let me know what your favorite Spyderco is, or what your favorite looking Spyderco is if you don't have any Spydercos. If you're new to the channel, definitely hit the subscribe button down below, because we have tons more stuff coming up the pipe, and I'd love for you to be here. That'll do it for this one, guys. I'm going to throw up 2 new videos. Definitely recommend going and checking this one out. Otherwise, guys, I will catch you on the next one.